I'm delighted to welcome to the 70s Album Show a true icon of pop and rock music, Mr. Bill Wyman. Bill, of course, spent 31 years as bass player with the Rolling Stones, but rather than retire when he left the band in 1993, he's written 7 books, he's an acclaimed photographer, he's Britain's most celebrated metal detectionist, a cricket enthusiast, a restaurateur, a film and TV producer. He's also released more than a dozen albums with his bands, the Rhythm Kings and Willie and the Poor Boys. So where do you start with a pedigree like that? Bill, welcome to the 70s Album Show.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very busy, but very well.
I was going to say, do you ever stop working, or are you constantly on the go?
The only time I stop working is to go to the loo, eat food for dinner, and go to bed, of course. The rest of the time, I'm always working.
So no thought of retirement, obviously?
Oh, no, I don't want to sit on my butt doing nothing. No, thank you.
Now, you're touring with the Rhythm Kings very shortly. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's our usual tour. We do 2 tours a year. We do one in Europe, Scandinavia and Europe, sometimes way out to Prague and places like that, Eastern Europe as well. And then we do a tour of the UK. And we do about 3 or 4 weeks in Europe, and we do about 6 weeks in the UK. We're doing 38 shows this time.
And it sounds like a real who's who of music in the band. Tell us who the current members are.
It's the same as the beginning, really. We've had people come and go, obviously, who have got busy with other projects like Peter Frampton, Gary Brooker, and people like that. But at the moment, we've got Georgie Fame on organ and Geraint Watkins on keyboards, who's Bob Dylan's favourite piano player, English piano player. Mm-hmm. Albert Lee on guitar.
Wonderful.
With Terry Taylor, who's fantastic. 2 horn players who are brilliant, and myself on bass. I'm Beverly Skeet, our beautiful black girl singer.
And, of course, you've got Mary Wilson joining you as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we always have a guest.
Yeah.
Over the years, we've had Eddie Floyd for a couple of years. We had Gary U.S. Bonds 2 years ago. We had Dennis LeCorrier from Dr. Hook.
Yep.
And now we've got Mary Wilson. We played with Mary. I got her to do a charity with us for the Prince Albert in Monaco 2 years ago. And we had Donovan, Robin Gibb, and various other guests. And she was fantastic, so I thought it'd be nice to have her on the tour.
Well, I wish you well with the tour. How do you decide what you're going to play?
Well, we usually try to do a bunch of new things every tour. We keep our favourites in, but the fans and the audiences seem to like the best. But we always try to do 6 new ones or something. And, of course, we've got Mary, and we're going to be doing 7 songs with her and 6 new ones with the band. So it's forever changing, but it's still the same setup. It's still a mixture, and it's a wonderful mixture of some blues, jazz, some soul music, some early rock and roll, some jump music, and so on and so on and so on. Just a whole mixture, some ballads, some Ray Charles, It's just a whole mixture because I've got 6 singers in the band, and they all got different styles, so I can do different styles of music.
It sounds like a fantastic evening. How much practice do you need to before you go on the road with a band like this?
You wouldn't believe it. When I was in the Stones, we used to do a month learning songs that we've been playing for 30 years.
Incredible.
This band, 3 days we got.
3 days?
Well, afternoons, yeah.
My goodness me.
Normally it's 2 afternoons, but because we've got Mary coming in and learning 7 new songs, it's going to be 3 days.
Wow.
That's it, and they're the 3 days before we start the first show on the 17th of October.
That sounds very brave to me.
No, but this band's so together and so organised and all that, we can do that.
Sure.
That's the magic of it. We send them a CD of all the songs, and they listen to them for a few days, and then we do it.
Just let me tell the listeners...
I don't like wasting time,
I realise that, yeah. Just let me tell the listeners where you're playing around the 3 counties. Sunday, October the 23rd, Milton Keynes Theatre, which is a beautiful place.
Oh, yeah, we always play that.
Sunday, November the 13th, Waterside Theatre, Aylesbury, another nice place. Friday and Saturday, November 18th, 19th, Cadogan Hall, London. Tuesday the 29th, the Corn Exchange in Cambridge. And finally, in this area, Friday the 2nd of December, Watford Coliseum.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to welcome to the 70s Album Show a luminary of the 1970s. He had hits like Judy Teen, Mr. Soft, Mr. Raffles, Here Comes the Sun, and of course, Make Me Smile, brackets, Come Up and See Me, close brackets. I refer, of course, to Steve Harley. Steve, how are you?
Hello, matey. I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
Good man, good man.
I'm busy, so I'm well. I'm busy, happy.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, after all these years, you're still touring.
And making albums.
I was going to say, because you put out Stranger Comes to Town last year, I mean...
Yeah, that's still a new album. We tour the world, and, you tour with that as a new album. We play half the album, half of the tracks are in the live set,
What keeps you motivated, Steve, after all these years?
It's my job. I don't need to be motivated. It's it's what I do. I have to get motivated to write songs. That's tough these days. Writing 9 or 10 new songs for a new album. When Stranger Comes to Town came out last year, several people said to me, it's the first one for 5 years. 5 years. Yeah, and your point is?
Yes, quite.
It felt like 5 minutes to me since I'd last finished writing 10 new songs. It's like pulling your own teeth out. It's very, very difficult as you get older.
Now, your first band, I believe, was called the Earwigs, and you formed it in '65.
Right.
Changed the name regularly. You were the Spiders, then Nas. I mean, what sort of music were you playing in those days?
Well, we had this strange thing that we started with Beatles, went to the Rolling Stones. We just kept getting deeper and deeper into the different bands. Then we started writing our own music. But I remember opening for the Yardbirds when we were 17 years old.
That must have been one great ego.
In a club. Yeah, we opened for when they had Jeff Beck in the band. And we did their entire show before them. We did every Yardbird song. And they were looking around the corner. Keith Ralph was looking around, and McCarty and, Chris Draga, and they were kind of giving us the thumbs up, going, yeah. And then they got on stage and just blew us away.
And you've got a lot of very fine musicians playing on the album. Tell us about them.
Obviously, I sort of hinted there that I started because of the Shadows.
Yeah.
And of course, I've known Hank, not as a close friend, but he is now, but I, over the years, obviously bumped into him on various TV shows and things. And in '95, he came to a concert I did in Shepherd's Bush, and it was the first time I came back to the UK to do a concert tour in quite a while. And I got the surprise of my life, or shock of my life, when he turned up backstage. And that was actually the germ of the idea. That was the catalyst to put everything together for me, because I asked him if I do an instrumental record, would you play with me? So, and he said yes. So 10 years later, I emailed him and said, are you ready? And he said, I thought you'd never ask. So, I not only got Hank, but Brian Bennett came and Mark, the bass player, came as well. So the only one that wasn't there was Bruce. So basically, I became Bruce for the day. So that was a session that I will never forget.
Can you do the Shadow Walk?
Of course.
Do you remember when it took 5 minutes for the TV to warm up? Your mum was there when you got home from school, when $1 a week was decent pocket money. You only had to come home when the streetlights came on, when a Ford Capri was everyone's dream car. Playing footy and cricket with no adults to help kids with the rules of the game. When being sent to the headmaster's office was nothing compared to the fate that awaited you if your parents found out. Do you remember summers filled with bike rides, hula hoops, Tizer, frozen jubblies costing 4p, and Mr. Whippy ice cream costing 6p? Visits to the beach, rock climbing using only plimsolls and sheer grit, lemonade powder, sherbet dabs and jamboree bags. What about Civil War cards? 4-digit telephone numbers, press button A, then button B. The Dancet record player, 6 and 3p for a single. Ford Cortinas, Izal toilet paper, reel-to-reel tape recorders, Bazooka Joe bubblegum. Mojos, blackjacks and fruit salads. 5 bob a gallon. An exotic meal was a Vesta chow mein. Race issue meant arguing about who ran fastest. Keith Skews on Big L, Colin Berry on Caroline, Michael Aspel on two-way family favourites with the aroma of roast beef cooking for Sunday lunch. Hearing the latest Beatles single for the first time. Having a weapon in school meant being caught with a catapult. Putting lolly sticks in the spokes of your bike transformed it into the biggest motorcycle in the world. If you can remember most of these, then you have lived. Send me your thoughts so I can pass them on to anyone who may need a break from their grown-up life. I double dare you.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
The 70s Album Show with Barrie Hyde.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Evening, good people. A spot of Queen for starters. A band that straddled the 70s and 80s like a colossus. Well, that's a good start, isn't it? Evening to you, it's Baz, it's BBC Three Counties Radio, it's Barrie Hyde, you're listening to the 70s Album Show. And in case you didn't know, that was Queen from 1974 off the album Sheer Heart Attack, the track In the Land of the Gods. And do you realise that was before Bohemian Rhapsody? It was as if Bohemian Rhapsody, when that was first put out, didn't exist. And then it was released, and it became a phenomenon. I always have to slow down when I say that word, because otherwise I stumble over it. Freddie, of course, still sadly missed. He's never been replaced, and it's quite interesting. Whenever you hear other people trying to do a Queen song, very, very few blokes can carry it off. But interestingly, it's the girl singers that really can make a Queen song work, and I've never quite been able to get into my mind why that should be. Maybe you can tell me. Text me, 07760173737. Let me know what you think. And also, if there's a request that you want, use that same number, 07760173737, or you can email bbc.co.uk/Three Counties. Hello, it's Barrie Hyde, it's BBC Three Counties Radio. You're listening to the 70s Album Show, playing the music that inspired a generation, as we like to say. We're playing the excellent music that was produced in the 1970s. We don't play the dross, we don't play the Bay City Rollers or Mud or any of that old tosh. We just play sheer excellence. Here's a case in point. It's Dr. Feelgood. From the 78 album Private Practice, this is Things Get Better. It's a nice, simple band, and I have to say it's a good band. It's a band called Dr. Feelgood from Canvey Island in Essex. They were what's known as the doyens of the pub rock scene. Pub rock, well, it was sort of bright, happy sort of rock and roll, and it was great fun, and they were good to see. They're a good live band, and I have to say it's always a joy to dig them out again, and that's the idea of this show, to dig out the unusual, not necessarily the obvious, the music that makes me feel good, and hopefully it makes you feel good on a Saturday night as well. It's always a joy and a privilege to be here on a Saturday night. We're here between 8 and 9 o'clock. If there's a request that you want, send me a text, 07760173737, because if I've got it, I'll dig it out and I'll play it.
Getting beds, hearts and bucks talking every Saturday night.
The 70s Album Show with Barrie Hyde.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
70s Album Show, that's me playing the music you want to hear. And don't forget, if there's something you do want to hear, do send me a text. I like to play different things. I like to play unusual things. Here's a case in point. It's a band that didn't do much in this country. They were pretty big in the States. It's a band called Taj Mahal. In 74, they put out an album called No Roots. We're going to play an old Bob Marley track they recorded. It's called Slave Driver, and it's very good indeed. It's the sort of music I love, that, because he gets hold of different styles of music and he puts it together in a grand fusion. Taj Mahal is from New York City. He was actually born as St. Clair Fredericks, and he changed his name. I can understand him changing his name from that, but to Taj Mahal, there you go. His father was of Jamaican descent, hence the reggae connection. And apparently the name came to him, the name Taj Mahal came to him whilst he was studying agriculture, and he had a dream. Yeah, okay.